Yeah, that's quite all right. Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. No, okay. So, Arya III in a Storm of Swords. Fun fact: Arya is the only character with a POV chapter in every one of the 5 published novels, and I dare say all 6 novels, since we encountered her in a sample chapter from The Winds of Winter, a book that we're being assured will be released in November this year, that is 2023, or at the latest early next year, or never. So rest assured. But you probably knew all that stuff already, dear listener. So Arya, you will remember, is now hanging out with a band of outlaws, somehow connected with the Brotherhood, headed by Sir Beric Dondarrion, as we inferred by various clues. They call themselves the King's Men, meaning that their company was formed by royal decree, signed on behalf of the late King Robert, although penned by the hands of by the hand of the king's hand at the time, that is the late Eddard Stark. Lots of late people, huh? These chapters, you can see how, the torch has been passed to the younger generations. The Roberts and the Eddards disappearing, dying like flies. And also we infer that by the fact that they tend to compensate people, common folk, for their foraging by paying them with IOUs, a trend that we learn was started by the Red Priest Thoros of Myr. Finally, Harwin, son of the Starks, housemaster horsemaster in Winterfell, is also part of this gang. So, and he was embedded in Dondarrion's crew way back in Agot, a Game of Thrones. So I rest my case. So Arya, Gendry, and Hot Pie met with these guys in the Inn of the Kneeling Men just a few days after Brienne, Jaime, and Cleos had passed by those parts. Small world indeed. And somehow they've now become traveling companions. We'll find out more about the hows and the whys, except that they seem to be going the wrong way. Or so Arya points out, because of the moss on the trees. There, Arya trained in the Girl Scouts, you see. And we also had 2 heartbreaking moments, before I forget. Because first, Hot Pie stayed behind. See, he now has a live-in position, and has a live-in position at the inn of the Kneeling Men. All his knowledge on how bread is baked, which he schooled the whole inn staff on in the previous Arya chapter. His knowledge came in handy. So we now learn that he was told, I'm impressed. You know your bread. Oh, welcome aboard, young man. You're hired. Here's your chef's hat. Off you go. And honestly, why should he turn down such an offer? I mean, it certainly beats the hell out of having to steal veggies from some random dead farmer's crop along the road, which is what they did right before they bumped into the Brotherhood without banners. I might as well call them with their proper name at this point. And not to mention, always with the prospect of being attacked by some warring faction or other. Well, not that being at an inn, not that being, based at an inn would make you safer, really. But, yeah. But at least it's an inn, you don't have to eat roots and berries and nuts. The food's good. There's ale. It's a stable income. And you get to bake pies for a living. Need I say more? So, they had, Arya and Hot Pie had this bittersweet moment, bittersweet goodbye. Him saying, "Will you be back when the war is done, milady?" And to which she replied, "Just call me Harry." And in answer to your question, I guess that depends on what George R. R. Martin has in mind for you. Because you're really a minor character and you don't get a POV. She's very meta at this point. But this was a flashback, and now she's thinking about that flashback again, and it's only now that she realizes how much she misses Hot Pie, really. And the second heartbreaking moment was when she had to tell Harwin of how she found his father, Harlan, dead by the stables in the Red Keep the day she fled. What's the name? Yoren whisked her away, hushed her away. And even though there are still things that she won't dare tell Harwin, because it would be like telling her father. She refers to the casual murders she has committed here and there, as well as those murders that she commissioned. Didn't get her hands dirty, but her conscience, that's another story. Those murders committed, carried out by that fella Jack and Hagar, around whom so many theories have, been hatched, concocted. And this sort of theme is going to crop up again. Arya thinking that her own family wouldn't want her back if they found out about certain things that she did. That's what she thinks anyway. As for the Jack and Hagar part of the story, we're reminded that the iron coin he gave her is still with her in her pocket or some pouch. I don't know where she keeps it. And but what I do know is that she takes it out every now and then, admires it. Just looks like any random coin from some foreign currency, but apparently it's very meaningful. And she keeps pronouncing the words that should be given, that should be uttered to any Bravolzi upon showing the coin. So there's a coin, there's a token, and a special password. The special password being Valar Morgulis, but I'm sorry, but if I'm butchering my Bravosi, but I never quite mastered the exact pronunciation. So there's a token, and there's a chip, and a password. What do you think? Could this be some sort of a blue chip that she can spend at a special casino, kind of like James Bond in Skyfall? And then the villains immediately, raise their radars. Oh, the chip has been spent. I was wondering if anyone was ever going to claim that chip, or rather the amount that can be converted into. Who knows? This could be trouble, actually. We don't. Well, I don't know. That's all right. Be it as it may, we know. I can say as much as this: that this Chekhov's gun will be fired at some point. So we learn something interesting from Harwin. See, the reason Eddard didn't join the King's men is because Jaime attacked the latter, or rather the former, Eddard. He attacked Eddard in the street. All of which took place in Game of Thrones, book 1, which resulted in Eddard having his leg maimed after his horse fell on him. You see how common this sort of accident is in this world. We just read about Willas Tyrell in the previous chapter, where Sansa, the chapter where Sansa was being tailored for a new tailored gown. Anyway, so that part we sort of knew already, the maiming of Ned's leg and him like being in agony for the last few days of his life. It was not fun. It was not fun for Ned. But was Eddard's intention really to ever join the King's Men himself? So that's not how I remember it. I don't think. I mean, yeah, but they were not called the King's Men yet, I don't think. But the point I'm making is that's not how I remember it, because I seem to remember that Eddard had enough on his plate already, what would be in King's Hand, and so on and so forth. So I don't think that was his intention. But well, be it as it may, and here's the part we didn't know about. Eddard joining the Brotherhood and coming to the Riverlands was indeed what Tywin Lannister hoped for, because he was planning to ambush him and either kill him or trade him for Tyrion, because Tyrion was in the being held captive, was in the hands of Catelyn Stark at the time. And it was Jaime's bravado, I love that word, it was bravado, that spoiled Tywin's plan. A plan that Jaime wasn't even aware of, or so goes the consensus. This is another piece of the puzzle that might or might not be true, I don't know. Okay, I guess Tywin might have assumed that Eddard would be in the embedded in the in the King's Men. Does that make sense to you? I mean, if Tywin thought that Eddard thought that, their mission would be plain and simple: go to the Riverlands, kick Gregor Clegane's ass, and Amory Lorch, I think, was with them. No. Okay, right, maybe I'm getting all confused here. But bring him back to justice for violating the King's peace. Come back just in time to finish the beer I left on the counter. I mean, if he thought it was going to be like a very quick go, kick ass, come back, then yes, I guess it would have made sense. Instead, we are 1/3 of the way through book 3, and the King's Men are still, roaming around the Riverlands with no intention of going back to King's Landing, particularly because now they're considered outlaws and they would be, beheaded if they ever show their faces in King's Landing. So, yeah, be it as it may, as things turned out, it was the King's Men who did fall in the trap, in the ambush, somewhere in the vicinity of the Mummers Ford, and they got a massive beating when they crossed the river, because Clegane's men were hiding on both sides, both banks of the river. And this is where we first learn of Thoros of Myre's healing powers, because Beric was stabbed, apparently to death, in the chest with a spear. But the Red Priest prayed on him all night, we are told by, Harwin tells Arya. And the next day, ta-da, he was as good as new. Well, kind of. We will learn that all these healings are not, scot-free. They come with a price. Anyway, for those attentive readers, even first-time readers, this might be a clue to something supernatural going on. Because you'll remember all those stories we read about Beric Dondarrion having been killed in this or that battle, and yet somehow he's always turning up again, alive and well. And here we have an account of how Thoros of Myre, a Red Priest, miraculously restored Dondarrion to health. What if... Okay, say no more. No spoilers here. I already said too much when I use the S word, supernatural. But in this series, this is my pledge. In this series, I will only be looking back and not forward. Although we have already encountered some clues pointing to this so-called faith in the Red God, the Lord of Light, granting some kind of magical or supernatural powers, because Well, because the prologue of A Clash of Kings, we learn that what's her face is immune to poisons, for example. And that could be just, I don't know, training or a robust constitution. What's her name? The Red Priestess. Oh God, my memory's a blank now. She's got a Greek sounding name. Melisandre. There you go. So, I don't know. I mean, isn't it funny? The old gods certainly grant some kind of powers, because we learned from Bran that, these visions are real. So some kind of clairvoyant, fortune-telling skills come with communing, if that's the word, with the old gods. The Lord of Light grants apparently some death-defying powers. The only religion that doesn't seem to do nothing at all is, of course, the faith in the seven, which you can totally tell it was entirely artificially human-made. Men probably designed this faith, styling their gods after their own trades and roles within a family: the crone, the mother, the smith, the warrior, the father, the this and that. It's a very institutional faith with lots of rules and books and sacred texts with chapters and verses and this and that and rituals, very precise. And it doesn't do anything. So far, we haven't seen any miracles attributed to to any septon or septa. But the other two faiths seem to have some sort of supernatural aspect to them. Interesting. Okay, so where was I? So yes, so there's and Dondarrion just keeps coming back. Ha ha! You thought you'd kill me? Here I am. On guard. All right. Anyway, so even though, as I said, the King's men fell in the trap, took a massive beating at the Mummer's Ford. Even despite all that, more and more folks joined their rank and file, swelling their number. And it's not like Robert's death stopped them either. No. So they rebranded themselves and their purpose. So now they're a proper band of outlaws. They can't go, there's no turning back. And they're there, they're compact, solid, with the people, for the people, you know what I mean? And all that stuff. They even have septons in their midst, in case the parallels with Robin Hood weren't blatant enough, They even have their own theme song, because you gotta have a theme song, So, anyway, so they stopped for the night. They're still going in the wrong direction. Arya is not impressed. Look at the moss. Gendry is like always taking a piss. Look at the moss, It's moss growing out of your ears. And she goes, yes, but on the wrong side. She always wants to have the last word. So they stopped for the night at a village where they learned that armed men passed around these parts looking for the Kingslayer. So that's Jaime, and we must assume that these men are either Karstark men. You remember they stormed out of Riverland, thirsting for revenge, or it could be possibly that party dispatched from Riverrun by Edmure Tully. We don't know what's his name, Sir Robin Ryger, something or other. And so that's where we learned that. That's where they learned, because we already knew that. That's where they learned that Jaime's no longer in the dungeons, Riverrun. Although nobody quite knows how he pulled that trick. How did he escape? They don't know, but we do. Ha! So there. For once, we are privy to some very useful info that characters don't have access to. So the next day, They get back on the road, and Arya keeps saying, they're going in the wrong direction. I keep telling you every bloody day, this is south. We're going south as opposed to west-northwest, which is where we should be going if we were indeed headed towards River Run. Because now I'm looking at a map here, right here, page 1. And basically, well, if they took the south road straight from the Inn of the Kneeling Man, which coincidentally is the same road taken a few days earlier, taken by Brienne in our last Jaime chapter. If they took that south road, if they are indeed on that south road, that means, see, in the straight line south, it means that they're headed, you can see here, in the direction of a place called White Hart. We haven't encountered it yet. We don't know what's in White Hart. You see there on the map? I mean, the south road isn't actually on the map because it's a minor road. It goes through the woods. But yeah, so that would appear to be their direction. So Arya complains about it with she's smart. Arya's smart. We know that about her. She's already figured out that the person who's already in charge, even though he didn't actually spell it out, is some Taroshi dude with a green beard who is imaginatively called Greenbeard. So she goes there and goes, "Oh, why are we going?" She learns from Greenbeard. I'll tell you what. The reason why we're going in this direction is because you, Arya, are indeed being taken to our Comandante Supremo, Latin American guerrilla style, known as Beric Dondarrion. Why, I hear you ask? Why? Because that's where every highborn captive must be taken to first, so the Comandante can decide what's to be done with them. It's kind of it's part of our policy. They told me all that at orientation. But Arya, is really triggered by the word captive. I'm a captive now? That really triggers her. Like, it's just not even fun. This is not funny. So she spurs her horse. See, when I read that, I didn't realize that she got to keep her horse. Because, at first the understanding was that the band of brothers, what's it called, the Brotherhood Without Banners, was going to, shall we say, borrow the 3 horses that Gendry, Hot Pie. Did Hot Pie get to keep his horse? A lot of gaps in my knowledge here. They stayed behind at the inn, so presumably he might have little need for it. But then again, if it was his, which it wasn't really, but because he had stolen it from the stables of a certain Monsieur Leech Lord Bolton. Anyway, I realize I'm digesting here. I'm digressing. So yeah, she spurs her horse and she goes, "Oh no, never over my dead body," and off she goes. Clippity cloppity, clippity cloppity. That's the sound of the hooves, in case you need to be told. That's how they sound. Hooves on a regular terrain like the one they happen to be. And so yeah, and off she goes through the open field, all the while repeating to herself the mantra Syrio Forel had taught her: calm as still water, quick as a snake, swift as a deer. Has anyone collected all these similes from Syria? Because there must be like hundreds of them. The still water is a recurrent one, as far as I remember. So yeah, but then anyway, they chase after her, as they would. I mean, let's face it, she is valuable as a captive. So Clearly, they want to recapture her. All of them. Kingsmen, Harwin, Greenbeard, Angai, and one by one they all fall behind. And the only one who eventually catches up with her, of all people, is Harwin. That's another heartbreaking moment, isn't it? Because Harwin was supposed to be on her side, and it's always like kind of like there could be two ways of interpreting this. Harwin is just after the money for the cause, that's where his loyalty lies. Or if we want to be more sort of like, what's the word? Generous, shall we say, optimistic. If we want to believe in humanity, Harwin might be thinking, on her own, this girl, as smart and resourceful as she is, she doesn't stand a chance of, surviving these dangerous parts of the world. So no. For her own safety, we must keep her near and never get our eyes off her, because she doesn't know what's good for her. Poor Arya. What is she, like 9 right now? Anyway, so he catches up with her. He reaches over, grabs her bridle, Harwin, and he patiently explains to her, okay, first of all, well done on that riding technique. I'm impressed. Lady, you ride like a Northman. So it's no coincidence that I am the only one who could catch up with you. Secondly, look, okay, us lot, we were formed by your dad as a company. We were formed by your dad, Eddard, but he's dead by royal decree signed on behalf of Robert. And he's dead too. Your brother Rob is basically what's left. Now he's the head of House Stark, and he's a cool guy, got nothing against him. But we don't fight for him. We fight for the common people, you know what I mean? The commoners. Yeah, we are all they have. You follow my argument, milady? Which, I feel this is like a very long and convoluted way to avoid saying, we're taking you to our leader, and he's probably going to decide not to just return you to your mum in Riverrun, but sell you back to her. Because you can fetch a pretty penny, I think. And that's, it's all good for the cause. It's for the cause, yeah. That is basically the Harwin's argument. So be quiet, stop trying to run away, and, play along. And eventually it's a win-win-win. Everybody's happy, okay? And we are sure that nothing at all will ruin this beautifully laid out plan. And on this anticlimactic end to that wild ride, the chapter ends. We have a lot of that in these books, in this series of books. We have a lot of those, like a ride like there's no tomorrow, ride, run away. Like John deserting at some point, and then his black brothers catch up with him and say, no. They just go, no, where do you think you're going? Come on, come back. And he goes, oh, all right, I suppose so. On this anticlimactic, ending, we close the chapter. And same here. Okay, where do you think you're going? Okay, of course, they had to show Arya. They being Georgie boy, George had to show Arya at least reacting to the notion that she's a captive and rebelling against it. Okay, that's very much in character. I get that, but of course George still wants to keep her within the Brotherhood without banners, because there are things that she still needs to experience, to see characters she still needs to meet. Thanks to them, so she needs to be with them for plot purposes, and You won't regret it, dear listener. I'm saying all this stuff in the off chance that you are a first-time reader. You will enjoy what happens next. I think. I know I did. Right, okay, so I've got, the chapter is over, and I've got nothing else left to say as far as this chapter is concerned. So I guess that I'll speak to you next when I do my rambling commentary of chapter 18, which is, oh my God, look, it's the first Samuel Tarley's POV chapter. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. And if you like this sort of content, don't forget to do this and that. Don't forget to do the things that people do in this sort of channels. Or not. All right. Speak to you soon. I can hardly wait. Ciao.